Namaste, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy Saturday to you. Maybe it's Sunday for you. So nice that you have all joined. So, welcome to Vivekananda Yoga University, the first yoga university as for India doing graduate education research. The good news today, you'll see the holistic aspect of what we talk about at YU. Holistic with the W, which means all the sciences, allied sciences, yoga, Ayurveda, and so on. And today we have an Ayurvedic master with us. It's really my distinct honor and joy to share about our speaker, Vaidya Ashlesha Rawatji.
Namaste, Ashlesha.
So, Ashlesha Rawatji is Vaidya Ashlesha Rawatji is a YU faculty and a member of YU Faculty Senate. She's a third generation Ayurvedic physician with 20 years of experience specializing in holistic wellness through Ayurveda and integrative medicine. She has taught at various Ayurvedic colleges, conducted research, and continues her clinical practice while promoting Ayurveda globally through workshops, publications, and presentations. Now, she has awesome credentials, a BMS from University of Mumbai, as well as an MD in Ayurveda from University of Mumbai, and many more. You'll see her bio on our website. Today's topic is Ayurvedic treatment frameworks, okay, a contemporary look under the scientific lens. So as you know, Ayurveda, the ancient Indian system of medicine, offers a holistic approach to health through diagnosis, prevention, and treatment. So this particular presentation explores is 3 therapeutic modalities. And I'll just use the English phrase. She'll be sharing with you the Sanskrit phrases: rational, psychological, and spiritual. So, by examining the relevance in modern clinical practice and reviewing emerging biomedical evidence, the talk highlights Ayurveda's potential in managing chronic, lifestyle-related, psychosomatic, and neurocognitive disorders through an integrative and systems-based lens. So again, delighted to have our esteemed speaker today with us. Srinathji, thank you for joining. Namaste. So, Ashlesha, the floor is yours.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prashantji, and thank you, Srinathji. Namaste, and namaste to everyone. Global namaste here. I know a lot of people have joined from different places. I also want to take this opportunity to thank, YU Distinguished Speaker Series Committee to inviting me here to talk about what I know a little bit of Ayurveda. And it's as a tradition, I would also like to say the mantra, and let's join hands together. I will remember all the gurus here. So I'm chanting a mantra. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Thank you, and let's get started. Let me share my slides. And so, coming to the today's topic, and I know I have to definitely tell you this first of all, that when I'm talking about looking under the scientific lens, contemporary look under the scientific lens about Ayurvedic treatment frameworks, I am definitely not in any case saying that Ayurveda is not scientific and I am looking at the scientific. It's not at all that way. If that's what you're thinking about, it is actually that Ayurveda is already science. It is a medical science. That's what we believe, right? And obviously, how do we understand in this contemporary phase about that science? That is the focus. So with that, saying that, and I would also like to, share that what we are really going to cover today, what will be my focus of talking, and we will be obviously talking about overview of Ayurvedic treatment principles. Then we'll go along with the classification of treatment categories. And believe me, this is a vast subject here itself, like categorizing it, because there is so much, that's why it has to be categorized. And also to understand that whole understanding about the core of Chikitsa. Chikitsa means treatment, and I'll be talking about this word a lot, Chikitsa. And then we'll go with the examples, and examples in a perspective of how whatever the research evidence is possibly available. And we'll talk about that as well. So the very first word, as I said, I will be talking a lot about this word, Chikitsa, because Chikitsa is what? Then Chikitsa is a treatment. So that is a Sanskrit word, what Ayurveda gives for the treatment. Treatment modalities, therapies, whatever you want to say. And, the word Chikitsa really, it's a Sanskrit word. So the root word, in Sanskrit, there is a root word, and then that's how the word develops. So the word Chikitsa comes from the root word kit. Kit vyadhi pratikare. Pratikare, vyadhi is disease, and pratikare is just to remove it. So eradication of disease is the focus of Chikitsa, and that is Chikitsa. So the definition itself talks about what it is, and that is what it is. That any kind of a disease. And now here I would also want to tell you that disease does not necessarily mean in Ayurveda as an actual disease. Any kind of a suffering is actually called as a disease. As you may be knowing the history of, if we go to the origin of Ayurveda, just our understanding the history aspect, then you will realize that it is really old, it is really ancient, and people say it is 5,000, but it's now with all these new archaeological and hydrological and astrological and astronomical researches are showing that it all will itself, Vedas are almost more than 20,000 years old. And with that reference, Ayurveda becomes the Upanga Veda or the Upaved. Upaved is subcategory or categorized the next, main four Vedas, and then the next four Vedas that which are considered as a sub Vedas. That's how Ayurveda is considered. So you could easily say that minimum it is 20,000 years old, and that's how this language comes from there. That they believe the suffering itself is a disease, and that's how the whole definition of Chikitsa developed, that whatever that takes to eradicate that disease or that suffering, that is called as Chikitsa. So I really want you to remember this word, because I'll be saying this word a lot, because treatment is a translation of that, but the main word is Chikitsa. So when I'm constantly talking about, you know Chikitsa, eradicating the disease, I want to give one more simple fundamental principle. And there are many fundamental principles of Ayurveda. And as you would see that the origin is so ancient, and why we are still practicing, because all these fundamental principles are extremely, extremely valuable and extremely steadfast, that they just can't, you cannot just prove them wrong. They are really, uh, truly true, right? So the fundamental principles are multiple, but what I would really like to talk about, one major principle, and the reason why I'm talking about that is also because it is regarding how the disease been seen in Ayurveda. The whole concept itself is, as I said, it is a suffering. It is a actual something which you are uncomfortable with could also be a suffering, right? And that's how it is not necessarily a disease. Now in today's contemporary age, we say disease means give me the name, right? So it is not about that. It is about your discomfort. Even that discomfort is suffering, and that's what we call it as a vyadhi or chikitsa, vyadhi or disease. And with that reference, I'm using this word disease. And the fundamental principle of that is that we believe, and which is called is as a karya karana siddhanta, which means there has to be some cause, and then only the effect happens. It cannot be just okay happening. So logic is right there from the beginning. And so this effect, which is which we will call it as a disease, but there has to be some cause, and maybe we are not able to see that. It's not necessary that every cause we will be able to find it out, but the siddhanta or the principle still remains that there is some cause, and that cause could be unseen. And that's how we call these kind of unseen causes also as the cause, and from there comes actually the category of the sufferings. And why I'm again calling this word as a sufferings, because I have told you the disease is not necessarily disease. Any kind of a discomfort, any kind of a suffering, any kind of not comfortable with is a suffering. And in ancient time we call it as a tapa. Tapa, something that really creates bothers you, and that is those are the tapa. And in again simple word we will call it as a suffering. Now these tapa are of like multiple, right? Many causes are there and many effects, as of you will become a discomfort because of that. So there are multiple causes, but these causes are called as a again sufferings, and they can be categorized only in a three aspect. Just to bring them into a categorization mode, they have come, we have put it in a three aspect, and Ayurveda has put it in a three aspect. So number one is called adhyatmika. So tapatraya is a adhyatmika, which is the, you know, here the focus or the cause arises, all the causes of that adhyatmika is called, which where you do oneself does some suffering. I mean, the cause of that suffering is absolutely within oneself. So maybe you didn't eat properly, you didn't sleep properly, or your lifestyle was some difference. There was a difference in lifestyle, and there was some kind of a, the changes all over, or maybe you exhausted, what too much, or whatever that created that discomfort, or which we will call it as a suffering, that is called adhyatmika. Of course, the result or the effect of it is you will see mostly the bodily elements or the some kind of a mental anguish. Then we come to the adhibhautika. The adhibhautika is a suffering caused by bhautik things. So bhautik is actually a physical, something is a physical factor. And this physical factor is causing this disease to happen, or discomfort to happen, or suffering has to be happen. So for example, just think about the storm came, right? The disturbance came in, or even for this reason you can consider it as a bacteria, as a physical entity, and then you had a bacterial infection. That suffering can be considered as adhibhautika. And then comes something little different, and it is called adhidaivika. So what is this daivika? And we have to a little bit focus more about, because people say that you're talking about scientific, and then suddenly start, if I suddenly start talking about, fate and God and all, people, many times contemporarily people believe that this is not science. But please remember, I'm talking about the word daiva. Daivika is not necessarily only, I mean, how do you understand God is could be a completely different aspect, but something other than this, our human, which we can understand even by human brain. And so that's how it is more can be defined as a unseen, those forces which are unseen, which cannot be explained to the human body or human mind, and it is, maybe it is supernatural. So those aspects, those astral forces which work, the cosmic forces which works, which are unseen, and those, or even the karmic forces which works, those all come under the category of the adhidaivika. This is just a starting of the how the causes are being defined, my Ayurveda, and I would take you further to just give you, and this is, and I know we don't want to waste this, or stay more into the aspect of developing and just explaining these things, and I want to really go on to the clinical aspect. But before that, believe me, this little bit of principles and a little bit of foundational matter really will matter. So that's the reason I'm spending few minutes here, and then we'll go move on. So the stages and the management concept, I really want to talk about these things because Ayurveda really has put forward a fantastic the whole process of pathogenesis has been very well put forward. Treatment will only happen when we will understand pathology. So as first aspect, we look at the causes and how those causes are being categorized. Now we look at the whole process, that how the disease will appear. Correct. So it is actually considered as a 6 stages of the whole progressive stages of a disease. So how would any disease would form? There is a very scientific methodology given here, that's how the disease will form, and then the components of disease will change. For example, you know that in Ayurveda we believe three doshas, the three main what you call it as the biological energies, and they are the center point of all the everything, like disease, the physiology as well as pathology, or even as the psychology, everything. The main focus, the main point are these three doshas. And so based on these three doshas movement within your body, when something goes into the imbalance mode, then a very step by step process happens, and then that disease develops. And because this step by step process happens, that's how it is further divided into 3 stages. And one is a pro disease stage, where just the accumulation and the aggravation of dosha is happening. And if by chance that time, if you are lucky and you understand and you follow yoga and you follow Ayurveda and you follow dinacharya, the daily routine and the lifestyle is perfect, then the prashama means, okay, everything will go back to normal and you will be, you will have those biorhythms back. But if it would not happen, then the pre-disease stage would come. So remember, pro-disease stage also is very, very important, because that for that pro-disease, we already have in Ayurveda, there is a daily routine, daily regime, or the Rutucharya, which is the seasonal regime, as well as Swastavritta has been explained. So always it has been specifically taken care right from the beginning that disease should not be manifest. But if not, then you go into the pre-disease stage, and there where the dosha starts overflowing from their seat, and then they get localized, and then they get even, I mean, till the whole samprapti starts there, you still get few chances of that when you get into the pre-disease stage. Of course, there are purvarupas, which means there are prodromal signs and symptoms. But if you still don't pay attention and you keep on doing those repeated mistakes of whatever the causes would be, and then you manifest the disease. And then disease is manifested, and obviously that, so with every, these are the 6 stages of disease. This is how disease manifests, but we call it in a different way. In Ayurveda, you can see it a little bit in other aspect of it, that these are not just the aspect of disease manifestation. I would say these are the 6 stages of treatment, because every stage, if you realize that, you can actually reverse. And that's why the taking any action at any stage is the treatment. Treatment is not only done when it is manifested. That is another major aspect of Ayurveda. And always we say that breaking the samprapti, or analyzing and understanding the pathogenesis and then reversing it, is the whole aspect of taking this part of an understanding of treatment. So now that we have understood this, how we can actually the disease prevention, we will understand that, oh yes, disease prevention is also aspect of Ayurveda, and the reversing the pathogenesis, and ultimate aim is to restore the homeostasis for the optimal health. So again, I want you to really realize here is that Ayurveda addresses really not just the disease or the suffering, but health is also the focus. One of the very basic understanding of Ayurveda, or the aims of Ayurveda, is to what we call it to actually prevent, not just prevent the disease, but protect the health of a healthy person. And then even if something happens and okay, that person really did ends up in creating this disease, then of course treat that disease also. So the therapeutic target principle of Ayurveda are, there are multiple targets, as I said. Doshas are the main thing, and then the potentiation of dhatus, which are tissues, and then of course the restoring functioning of the Agni means digestive fire, or you can call it as the whole aspect of digestive mechanism, right? And then obviously clearing and obstructing the whole channels in the body where the whole these doshas or biorhythm is happening, and then preventing formation of toxins or dama. So multiple, with all these multiple target, multiple methods are also provided, and this the ultimate goal is to bring that. That is the whole prime concern, that we want to bring the biorhythms back. The balance is health and imbalance is disease, and this is another very crucial aspect. So we know that what are those, all the therapies or those treatments are given, they all are only and only meant for bringing that balance, right? So when we are talking about the therapies, again, these multiple therapies are broadly actually categorized into the three stages. And now we come actual to those three, not three stages, I'm sorry, I want to say three categories. So the one is Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa, that is, rational way of treatments. When we say Vyapashraya, again, this is a Sanskrit word. Yukti is a rational. You have some rational behind that. And Vyapashraya, which means it is depend on, or it comes from, or it follows that. So the treatment which follows the some kind of a logic, or it depends on that logic, that is called Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa. And please pay attention here, because this is in Sanskrit, and Sanskrit is a very particular language which would not unnecessarily, even duplicate a single word there. So when it is said that it is a Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa, then it is really based on the rationality of the treatment modality, is based on the rationality. Then comes the Sattvavajaya. Now look here, the Vyapashraya word has gone now. Here it is actually the psychological aspect, and I will go into detail once we move in. But this is a psychological methodology for the treatments are given, and then comes the Daiva. Again, the Vyapashraya word comes, which means the one, and as I said, the Daiva is unseen and supernatural, and those type of modalities would come also as a Daivavyapashraya Chikitsa. So now let's go and take an overview of Ayurvedic treatment categories one by one. And then my flow would be, more importantly, of course, we'll go as Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa, then we'll go as a Sattvavajaya, and then we'll go the supernatural thing which I'm talking about. But in that also specifically, I would first define what is that treatment modalities. Then I'll give you an example how clinically we use, or what actually been used, what are the examples of that, and then we'll go to the contemporary lenses to check on that whether there are any studies, research evidences are available to understand, and or it's not just because we say that this works, right? So that aspect also we will take in account and try to understand that how this works. So first of all, as I said, the Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa, absolutely the definition and the core understanding here is to how the rationale of the treatment can be given. As I told you that Ayurveda itself is a medical science, and obviously that science has its own own platform or own fundaments, and based on that fundaments, when you apply, obviously that becomes absolutely logical, and that's a logical treatment basis. So for example, when we are talking about that I'm feeling cold, then what I'm obviously I do the treatment of wearing even sweater, then that is a yukti I'm using. That means I'm giving a rationale that I have to use something opposite of it. Again, not necessarily it's only opposite. Ayurveda also has something which is similar, which can be used to just eradicate the disease. So again, eradication of suffering is the chikitsa. So any measure we will take to eradicate that with the logic of Ayurvedic system is a Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa. So I hope you understand that. And as I said, the balancing doshas is the core focus. And again, when I'm saying doshas, again, bringing those biorhythms, it is not necessary only the biorhythms, or, there could be further damage might have happened as the toxins could have been created, or the tissues are damaged, or the blockage is there, or the digestive system is not really working, or there is an obstruction between the disease, the whole process of the channels. Everything comes back to balance the doshas, and that's the whole focus of the Yuktivyapashraya Chikitsa. Again, these therapies are very personalized and based on the individual constitutions. We believe, as I said, that each individual is absolutely unique. According to Ayurveda, everyone is unique, and that's how the treatment modality which has been tailored completely, each and every therapy is tailored very considering that particular individual is being considered there. So that's how the you would have this. So what are the examples of a rational treatment? So I would, as not just I would, but always Ayurveda believe on the three things. Here also the treatment approach would go basically on the major three things, and which we call it as ahara, vihara, and aushadhi. And aushadhi can be given in the, again, multiple formats. So what is ahara? Many times people, understand that ahara means diet, and I have to explain here is it's not necessarily only diet. It is food and with the dietary guidelines, and it is very very crucial. And I'm going to show you certain other things also, and that's why I'm using here the word ahara, because some specific dietary recommendations are aim always for the balancing doshas. And this is not only for the disease management, as you would say, oh, disease is manifested. No, even before the disease would manifest, that pro disease phase which I showed you, there itself is a guidelines are provided. And that's why we have this whole uh, you know what we call it as a ahara vidhi visheshayatan, which means there is a complete dietary, not just the how you eat is a dietary aspect, but how and when you eat is also important. How you make, that is also important. How you develop, how do you, what you choose to mix together, that is also important for Ayurveda. So that's how the dietary aspect would take care. Then comes the vihara, and this is again all the daily regimes which I have mentioned, or seasonal regimes which are mentioned. That is what constantly again to bring that biorhythm back to normal. That is the focus there ultimately, and that focus really supports this homeostasis of the doshas as well as the tissues and every aspect of the body. And that's why lifestyle modification is also the treatment logic here of the rational therapies. Then we come to the aushadhi. The the translatory word could be medicine, but remember it's not necessary only the phytotherapy. It is always, it could be plant based as well as herbomineral preparations would be there, and their focus would also be healing and restoring the health naturally, as again bringing back to the nature, or bringing back to the normal. And normal, coming normal is the nature. That's the whole focus. Now one another aspect is always taken here, and that what we call it as a detoxification, which is popularly, the name, Sanskrit name for that is panchakarma, and popularly known as Ayurvedic detoxification. The Panchakarma is known as Ayurvedic detoxification. It's kind of, again, those therapies which are really, really important to, if if for any reason the toxins are created, if you won't follow the dietary guidelines, if you don't do really those lifestyle daily regimes, then you're absolutely ending into the creating of the diseases, or even the pro-disease stages. So now you have opportunity to clean from there, and that's why panchakarma aspect is there. So these are some examples how we use the rational treatments. Now let's see what we have, the research evidences available for the dietary guidelines. Now, I would like to tell you that, as I said, that every time focus is on the uh, obviously the doshas, and it's not necessarily that you have created the disease and now then we have to focus on doshas. So the very one another research study I would like to share you here is that Ayurveda always says that all the fruits are definitely, I mean, there are some exceptions, but are always pitta pacifying. The sweetness of that is, and pitta is the one of the doshas, and again balancing, and what you would see that blueberries have been shown to be absolutely, and this is a double blind placebo clinical trial and randomized further, just it shows that yeah, it really brings down the obviously improves the blood pressure. And we know now that blueberries are already pretty known thing, and well, this is, people would know this, but this is the Harvard research, one of that which I'm showing here, and they are saying only 11 blueberries a day would also make them. Now this is easy and we understand that. Now comes the real game, and that is that Ayurveda also says that don't eat the fruits along with milk. I told you, diet, ahara means not just a food. It is all complete. It's not just diet, but it's all the other guidelines of diets also. And there we say there is one concept which is, we call it as incompatible food combination. So now we have this incompatible food combination. You would see this research recently been done showing that not just the blood pressure, but Ayurveda, blueberries also are very helpful as antioxidants, which will reverse the all the uh, whatever the oxidative stress is being created, and that's why these antioxidants are really good. But guess what? If you eat your blueberries along with yogurt or milk, you're actually not getting benefit of it. And that's exactly what Ayurveda was saying this from the ages. And we have now that research study also been showing that yes, you would, when I came to this, maybe country almost 27 years uh, ago, and I was like, okay, everybody would go for this kind of a milkshakes, and strawberry milkshake was popular, and along with, I'm showing you here the study of only blueberry, but strawberry study has also been done. It's not practically possible to show all those studies, and you would see literally it will actually impair the absorption of effect, very beneficial effect of antioxidant. Not only that, and Ayurveda has said this, like, it's not, it creates the garavisha. Why do you don't mix these together? Because they are incompatible, they will not go together. And not only that, it will create a garavisha. Now what is a garavisha, just for the translation I'm saying, it is a type of ama, or it is type of toxins. And then what you would say, so this research further shows us that this antioxidant activity of blueberries, which you would get otherwise, if you have it with milk water, then you will get it. So it not, if you take it with milk, it just not go till then, but it actually goes down. It goes, you will get the less antioxidant capacity. It is lesser than what it was started with. So it is going down means it is definitely, it is really creating some further bad effect on the, not that it is helping, it is definitely not helping, but we're further going down means creating a further more problem into that. So this was just a one thing. The same thing I would like to talk to you about the absolutely the understanding of vihara, which is the lifestyle modification. the whole, the whole circadian rhythm, what we now believe is too much, and that's how we should go, and that we have an internal clock in our body, and lot of epigenetics and lot studies are there. But this whole concept of circadian rhythm was absolutely the Ayurveda's one of the core aspect why we even provide the treatment modality of daily regime. So the daily regime, which has been said to prevent that all the if disbalances of the doshas and bringing them to the biorhythms, the the treatment modality is the daily regime. And daily regime is nothing but the classical lifestyle modification. So it says, all talks about when you should do everything, when you should get up, when the bowel movement should happen, when to eat, how to eat, what to do, what not to do, when to drink water and when not to drink water. And all there are like almost 40 points, 40 points given into this the aspects of this treatment modalities, and that is what we call it as a dinacharya. So one of such there are really lot of studies. Again, I cannot necessarily give everything here, but I just want to touch base quickly that even one of the very common thing we recommend people, that is like, okay, walk after meal, we call it as a shatapavali. It's like very important that you have to take some steps absolutely after eating food. And here is that again study was done where they show that it is immediately walking definitely immediately provides the beneficial impact of post-parental uh, sugar kind of goes down, and improvement is being seen in that sugar. And that way, actually, if again that is related to the obesity, and that's how, if you would walk simply after eating food, and it could be as simple as 15 to 20 minutes, that also would give you the effect. So there are multiple studies, as I said, and the key pointers could be, just walk and longer intervals between eating. That was study also was given, and exercising actually weakens the acute effect of a glucose level. And also it has been understood that the if you would do the exercise prior to meal, and people would do that, and actually Ayurveda has said that when you are dispersing your agni. You should not be doing that, because you would actually the sending agni again is as a considered as a digestive enzymes and digestive fire, just for a translation. It will go into to the extremities and not really stay there in the stomach. And how we understand here that with research it shows also, this is a all the the clinical aspect about clinical research studies are showing that the exercising prior to meal does not blunt the post hyperglycemia would not achieve, so that it's not will be happening. And there are such multiple other things also, or sometimes you people would say, okay, you cannot go because digestion would hamper, but actually immediately walking would help. Now, talking about the medicines, again, aushadhi, we call it as a, and it could be phytotherapy or the formulary therapy, and there are really, really lot and tons and thousands of research aspects are given. I mean, if you would take even single, for example, if you take the turmeric, I can actually give 1,000 studies on turmeric, how it has been done, or ashwagandha being another very popular nowadays. You would get more than 1,000 studies and clinical studies, and in each aspect of ashwagandha, and everything is available. So we know that, and that's what I'm not talking about. I do want to focus on very specific uh, what I was talking about, panchakarma, the Ayurvedic detoxification, and a lot of studies which I saw was related to the cancer and how it can be really helpful. So it's in the three stages of cancer, like to avoid cancer in first place. Again, panchakarma has been shown very positive results when you're working with cancer. And again, remember, panchakarma is not just something to take the massages and all. It is a whole complete process. It can be go from 7 days to 21 days and even more than that. And that's the whole process has to be followed. Again, it also includes all the yogic aspects also. And that's how panchakarma can actually pre-disease, so pre-cancerous, during the cancer treatment, and again beyond that, so not to have the relapse. Those all aspects are being studied very well, and we get this total effect of that. Another very important aspect I wanted to focus is the lipids and the cardiac disease is still considered as a number one. Even in US we considered as a number one killer, and lipids are also important, and panchakarma has shown that impact of panchakarma therapy actually reduces the lipid levels. Here is the study, and it's not just a one study, at least multiple studies are there. And again, it becomes sometimes challenge in Ayurveda because the disease is not what we focus on. Who is suffering from the disease is being also very, very well focused, and that individualized treatment modality that creates the individualized treatment modality, and that's why doing a mass scale study is another aspect. Now we come to the Sattvavajaya Chikitsa. Here I was telling you, it is, I mean, just to be fair to translate it, is a psychological behavior. I know I don't really want to go more on this because I'm already on, Mayu platform, and we know all the yogic aspects are meant for strengthening mind and achieving that goal. So sattva avajaya, obviously that is the focus. Sattva means mind and avajaya means victory, so conquering all the mind aspects. Lot of examples are there, and lot of you have I don't think I have to go here more on this. I would just touch base on one very strong point, is that the supportive role in neurocognitive disorders. What we are seeing is you would notice that reconnecting with the whole framework of Ayurvedic understanding, which is the same understanding of all the Vedic sciences. And as Prashantji said, that yes, this is the whole complete aspect when we consider holistic W, starting from W. So that's how the whole aspect I'm bringing here, yogic aspect, because according to Ayurveda, yoga and Ayurveda are the one. And so when you understand from that perspective, automatically all these treatments help to connect with Atman, the soul, and that really restores the inner peace. And absolutely, as the inner peace is restored, that can very potentially slow down the cognitive degeneration. And all neurocognitive disorders, the main concern is that cognitive degeneration. Then we come to the very interesting and last aspect of it, and that is called Daivavyapashraya Chikitsa. Now, I would like to talk really more on that Daivam. So, if we see this Daivavyapashraya is made of two things, Daiva and Vyapashraya. Vyapashraya Visheshena, again, ashrayam, which means which is depend upon. So the treatment modality which is depend upon Daivam. Again, what is Daivam? Daivam is considered and defined as a previous life karmas. So it is based on karmas also. That is a one definition of Daiva. And also the definition is considered which is unseen. So the therapy which is depend on or which is linked to adrusham, that is unseen, or daiva, again is called the Daivavyapashraya Chikitsa. So again, it is not, they do not call it as an irrational. Please understand, depend upon unseen. And this is very, very important to understand that there are multiple these things. You could see these are some examples, mantra, manidharan, and I can, I don't want to read all, but quickly just to explain you that mantra is the vibrational musical science, and the manidharan is wearing the crystals or amulets. Mangala is the praying or the saluting to obtain. Bali is sacrificing. Upahara is unconditional offering. Homa, fire ceremony. Nityam, as a yoga aspect, like it is a personal observance. And then the prayashchitta is a firm resolution to take it up. Austerity, upavasa is fasting, and so on and so forth. And dana is a donation, generosity. And now after looking at this, you would say, and again, Gamana is actually visiting pilgrimage. You would say, oh, am I talking about the science, or am I talking about some rituals aspects of religion? And let me tell you, these things may look like esoteric completely, I do agree, but they really create a very different aspect. And when the studies have been done, and again, it cannot be irrational because it is not mentioned that as a irrational. So I would, if you would see really how mantra chikitsa works, then in one single words, I would say it is all the neuro-linguistic effect, which we call it as a NLE and NLPs and PLPs also. So that's how it is all about developing neurocognitive aspect. So if we look again from the neuroscientific viewpoint, then you would realize that mantra chikitsa is nothing but to activating the parasympathetic nervous system, and which will obviously result in heart good and cortisol levels, so stress reduction and systemic stress would go, and basically for mitigating neuroinflammation and the neurodegeneration, the whole major diseases of neurocognitive disorders such as Alzheimer or the dementia or even the Parkinson or you just anxiety, depression, everywhere the problem is considered as main as a neuroinflammation. And that exactly this thing work for, and that actually result into stopping that degeneration of the neurons. And that's how actually mantra chikitsa works. I have again a lot of studies which where it is being proven with simple mantra as om, just one mantra, and that can even regulate the depression and epilepsy, and that is a aspect of treatment modality. But you would see another study was done on Gayatri mantra, and it is also very popular study where they showed actually that the actual linguistic aspect of frontal neural aspect was really, they were very easily able to develop that neurochemical changes were very systematic. And I would like to tell you that language definitely matters here. That has also been proven, and the study has been done that three groups they've made, one to say, learn, and this like almost 9 month study was done, and where somewhere they were really chanting the mantra and in Sanskrit. Then the second group was chanting only into the English, and then the third group was doing as a control study, so doing nothing. And they realized that the synchronicity of the all these neurochemicals changes, which was much better with the which were group A, which was chanting actually the mantra. And then of course I'm not going to go all over the whole thing. I'm just focusing on three, and then the second one is Homa, and then the next one, and we'll take the questions. But this Homa means the fire ceremony. Just if you have known the yagnyas, right? The some fire is being taken. In that fire, you put the ghee and some specific medicinal woods, and that is burned, and that's how the whole process is done. The one of the very popular Homa is the Agnihotra. I'm sure you might be heard about it, and if not, then here is how the Agnihotra works. This is a very good aspect of seeing the Agnihotras. Again, you take the fire, in a copper pyramid, and then you make that, and there are certain very specific things which are burnt there, and then you get the lot of effects. And there are again multiple research have been done and showed that these effects, that just see here, it is like again Agnihotra and microbial count was, you can see from the picture. I don't have to even describe it, that how just adding the ash of the Agnihotra, that ash of the Homa showed the antibacterial effect. That's not just it. There is actually one study was done that just the water was kept and no ash was added, and still the water was purified just by keeping next to it. Like you keep the homa and then keep the water there, and that also would see. So basically we can definitely conclude here that Agnihotra is a proven antidote for pollution of air as well as water. There was of course during the COVID these research were done, and they realized that, and that study shows again that it was expected to go the disease very very, this is again done in India. And there was when COVID was really on the high range, they started doing the Agnihotra, and definitely in a certain part of period they actually uh, kind of shown that arrest, not that it was eradicated completely, but their expectations that many cases did not happen just by doing the Agnihotra. So Yagya definitely combats this. Now you would say it's only for the pollution and air and water. No, or bacteria. No, it also reduces the blood pressure. Just by performing that, it shows the blood pressure down. It also creates, this is another study done in Russia, Moscow, where it also shows that the anxiety as well as depression was reduced by doing. So again, Homa definitely works. Now we come to the last part, and I'll stop after this. And so this is the dana. Dana means what? Dana means giving, giving something without any expectation. You just give it. And there are three types of dana: sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Most importantly, and why I'm saying these three categories, because these categories decide that where you give the dana is very very important, and with what intent you give. That's how the differentiation happens. That was one aspect. And another very important aspect, that what is the object which you are giving. So of course money could be one, food could be other, blood is, donation of blood. And another very important thing is time. Time is known as kala, and kala is considered as the main force, the nature. And so those who do the volunteering, they give their time, and that is always among these all four, what could be the most important, and that could be kala, means time. And that's why volunteering. And guess what, we have these studies done that volunteering may you know really create the slowdowns this biological aging. And there was another study which was saying the same thing, that they saw literally that biological aging, specifically concerning the telomere length. Telomere is the enzyme which is telomere is a cap basically on your DNA aspect, and then chromosomal aspect, when you have to really use this length to be, if that length is gets shortened. And telomere is the important aspect, and telomerase, the enzyme for that, they both are very very important. And if you do the dana, then it was shown that it really increases the length of this whole telomerase. So that's how it is, you can say that. And that is linked to the biological age, and that's how you can have the more life just by volunteering your time. And that has been proven. So dana, even if you see here that you may think that, oh, these are the esoteric things, but seriously, they are not just the religious stuff. There is a very specific rationale that why that was supposed to be done. So just to conclude, in a sense, we saw in the beginning that there are three types of sufferings categorized, and they provide the framework for understanding the diverse origin of sufferings. And they also, while we work on that, that means the treatment modalities, the therapeutic approaches which we do, they are also based on rational and psychological and spiritual therapies. So that's how we saw here. And we can also realize from here what I was trying to show, that Ayurveda offers a really truly holistic approach. You could see that it was not just the focusing on body, it was not just the focusing, it's not just the body mind science, but it is also focuses on soul or the spirit or the consciousness. And that's how all the three-dimensional existence of a human being is being taken in consideration, and also the cosmic connection of that soul. So these techniques of divine therapies or Daivavyapashraya Chikitsa may appear as a esoteric, but they really hold relevance. And as you saw just now, that multiple studies which I showed you, that they kind of definitely work, and it's not just the rituals. And of course, further research is definitely, undoubtedly, is needed, because it will really show the intrinsic overplay between this Davyapasha Chikitsa and its impact on overall well-being. So with that, I think I hope I am, yeah, completing here in time. So I just want to say a last mantra. We saw so many mantras, so let me end this with saying Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.